Nerd reactor. That's as hard to say as abominable.
Abominable, nerd reactor,
Yeah.
nerd reactor, abominable.
This entire interview is just going to be just trying to say these things.
Can you say that 3 times fast? Abominable?
Abominable, 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 abominable.
Nerd reactor, roll out.
You're playing Yi.
I am.
Yeah, on an adventure with Everest, this guy here.
Yes.
How was that like? Did you get to like do some research before, just traveling all around China?
No, I didn't do any of that because I kind of lived that already. When I was 15 and 16, I lived in Shanghai with my grandma. So that was a pretty easy kind of reference point to kind of go, what was this like? Because I knew exactly what it was like for me, at least. And I was just as fiercely independent and curious and kind of mischievous as Yi is in the film. So it wasn't hard to I didn't feel like I had to do any research in that end because it just all felt very authentic.
And so you just had to be yourself and just go crazy and just be very animated.
Not really, no. I I think it was actually much more of a grounding experience, if anything. Like the character is the world that we are in is so like whimsical and fantastical, and the journey that they go on is kind of is this kind of epic adventure. But the real themes and stories and what the characters are going through are incredibly grounded and totally relatable. Just as a young woman, especially as a young Asian woman, as a young tomboy, as someone who felt different, and who so it didn't feel. It felt just as grounded, if not more so, than other projects I've done.
I want to talk about just the concept with how, I guess, DreamWorks was like, here's a bunch of different projects, pick one, and what was it about the project that made you want to go, I want to do this?
You know, I had a vision really for two things I would say. I went back after that meeting and I knew that the one I was attracted to was a Yeti movie, and there was nothing else. It was a blank canvas for me, so that was exciting. And I Google searched Yeti and found that there's not that much about them, right? Everyone knows they live on Mount Everest. They've seen the footprints in the snow, but I knew that I could create a lore around them that maybe would stick, right? So that's exciting. That's an exciting challenge for a writer and a filmmaker. So I wanted Everest to be special. I wanted him to have surprises that you wouldn't expect out of a Yeti. We normally see Yetis stand up like a man in a suit walking. I wanted him to be different, so that's why he walks on fours. I wanted him to be really animalistic, not talk in English. And a lot of the inspiration from this came from a lot of my relationship between like my big dogs. I have 2 bloodhounds that are 100 pounds each. And I also wanted Yi to be an amazingly strong hero who's strong-willed, stubborn, who's able to drive this movie in a way that a lot of characters have not, I should say, in history. She's not a princess, she's a tomboy, and that's who I was growing up. I really shared that with Chloe Bennet, who also grew up a tomboy. So I think both of us together created this character that's a really strong role model. And so that central relationship was really important to me. And then also taking the movie to a whimsical place. Like I said, inventing the lore and having it kind of stick. So.
All right, so Abominable. It's an animated film. You guys are in it. It's got a lot of craziness, adventure. What do you guys do to help prepare for that?
Well, I don't know if there's anything that you can do because
Yeah.
you can't really draw from any experience
No.
and relate it to this. But
For me, I think every recording session we went in, we would watch some of the clips first that they had animated and kind of see some of their concept art. So that kind of helped me get back
yeah,
into
that
it.
definitely did help.
So let's say for your character, did you like learn, or do you play basketball or sports or all that?
Not really, but I feel like Pang's personality and mine are kind of similar. We're kind of alike in some ways. He's definitely a foodie, so I can relate to that.
Yeah.
And he's just always optimistic, which I think is great and really helps throughout the movie.
And Tenzing, your character is pretty, all the girls like him, and he's always caring about his shoes. And I see, you still have the style.
I do. I hope so. I love shoes, so I definitely relate to him in that way. But Yeah.
Did I guess the writers, did they take that into account, or was it just a perfect fit?
I think it's just a perfect fit. Same with the way that we almost look like our
Yes.
characters.
Yeah. If we do our
But-
hair in a certain way and dress a certain way, we could
Yeah.
definitely pull off the Jin and Ping look.
And would you do that for, let's say, cosplaying during Halloween?
Maybe.
That'd
maybe.
be really funny, dressing like our own characters.
Or maybe we could remake our movie in live action.
That'd be pretty cool.
That'd be pretty
yeah.
cool.
All we need is a live action Everest.
I think one of my favorite things about the movie is just being able to see all these cool locations that people might not know about.
Yeah, yeah.
And I guess, after doing the movie, doing the voice work, have you been inspired to, just to go back and...
Yeah, I'm trying to have someone set up a whole tour that I can go on for vacation and go visit all of those locations. I have a feeling it's going to be, it'll be different because there's no magic involved. But I would love to go visit all of the beautiful places in the film. Yeah.
And what was it like working with, I don't know if you were acting opposite Everest, or was someone making a grunting sound?
No,
No?
no one was. It was a lot of me and poor Jill, who's incredible and so amazing. But it was 99% of the movie was me and her. And I kind of would just go into my own head a little bit in terms of what the surrounding and what it was. And I don't recall her making Everest noises, which is good, which I think it was smart on her end because
Yeah.
it can be distracting if it's a weird, grunt, someone just grunting at you. She was incredible. She's helped me kind of get into that state of imagination and creativity to having to completely build a world around me while, voicing, Yi.
Yeah, so I guess with the casting choice for Chloe, so you saw a lot of yourself in her, she's I feel like we're kindred spirits.
Yeah, and that grew even throughout this process. As we talked, we realized how much we have in common. And she was such a perfect person for this because she grew up in Shanghai. She's half Shanghainese, and she had a grandma just like Nai Nai, who was at the Toronto Film Festival when we premiered it this last week, and everyone was just cracking up because her grandma is so much like the grandma in the movie.
Nice.
But yeah, we just really related to this really headstrong character who was stubborn and sometimes and flawed, and I think that's the beauty of filmmaking is that you can create these believable characters. They don't have to be perfect.
Have any particular favorite location that's in the film?
Leishan Buddha for me.
Yeah, I love the Leishan Buddha. Another beautiful one was the Yellow Mountain that I really loved. But really, this whole sequence of the koi fish, the cloud koi fish flying over Everest, I think that might have been my favorite.
And just working, you guys were in a studio for the most part by yourselves, right? Yeah. So how was that like?
Well, it's us and our director, Jill.
Yes.
We do all of our lines with her for the most part.
And she reads the other parts.
Yeah, we did get to do a couple sequences with each other, which was more fun and easier. Sorry, Jill, but...
And I think it was a very different experience in live action because, Tenzing said, we don't have our other actors, but we also don't have anything else that hasn't been animated yet, whether that's the sets or the wardrobe or any props. So we have to imagine it all and then do it all through your voice. So it's kind of a different experience.
Most of the time it's just you by yourself, but there are emotional scenes where you're able to act opposite somebody. I don't know if you want to talk more.
Yeah, Tenzing, we did once, and we workshopped a scene a little bit in the bamboo forest, a sequence called Broken Strings, I believe, and we kind of workshopped it a little bit, and we got to work together opposite each other, and we got to ad-lib a little bit more on that scene, and kind of Jill was just kind of now we did it a bunch of times, and she was and now just throw it away and just say whatever, and that was a really, really cool experience to kind of just. I think everyone wanted that just grounded, real description of not knowing how to feel and for Yi going, is this right? I haven't even cried yet. I don't know if how I'm feeling is the right way or the wrong way, and I'm confused, and I think that's okay. And I think my purpose is to find out how to manage this and how I can grow from this and how I can be closer with my family after this. And I think it's something that everyone goes through a level of adversity in their life, and whether it starts at a young age or it's something traumatic like losing a parent or something else, it's all about growing from that. And I think that's what this film is about.
And then there was a moment where you get to act opposite Chloe, right?
Yes, we got to do one sequence away from the cameras, just us in the booth. It was the one where they're in the bamboo forest, and it was I think if I had to pick any sequence in the movie to do with her, I think I would have chosen that one too.
And how did that feel, just trying to connect to something deeper?
It was great, being able to play off Chloe and really listen to each other. It was also really cool because Jill allowed us to go off the script. She just kind of told us how the scene should go, and then from there, me and Chloe just started talking to each other like normal people. Not that we're not normal people.
And for the adventure, was there any moments where you wanted to choose certain places for the trip across China?
Yeah, I mean, I did a ton of research when I was writing this, and the city is based on Shanghai. It's not Shanghai, but it's based on Shanghai. And then I knew we wanted to end up in the Himalayas, and there's about 2,000 miles in between there. And I plotted the journey, and as I did my research, I discovered all of these beautiful places in China that the world really doesn't know exists, like the Yellow Mountain with all its amazing rock stairways, and the Leishan Buddha, which I didn't know existed, the tallest Buddha in the world, carved completely out of stone. And I think the world knows more about like the Great Wall or the terracotta soldiers, but they don't know about how diverse and beautiful and rich the natural world of China is, the natural settings in China. And so I really wanted to showcase that. I was super excited. In fact, there's quite a few locations I didn't have time to use. That goes for the next one or something, right?
Everest, he's like in the poster and all that. Yeah. And so what was it like trying to figure out how to act opposite him, imagining it? Like, do you know how he looks like before?
Well, they gave us some concept art to show what he looks like, and I think we just kind of imagined, like, what anything he did would, like, kind of look and feel like. Yeah. I feel like a lot of us kind of based our, like, experiences of him on, like, a dog, because he's kind of similar to a giant dog, yeah.
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 Your character plays the violin.
Yes.
Do you play the violin?
I do not.
Have you practiced?
I can like dabble in ukulele, and I played saxophone for a long time. Mm-hmm. But I do not play the violin. But I love that she does play the violin. I love that I love that the violin is kind of an extension of her emotion. You kind of see how limited she is in communicating at the beginning of the film because she lies to her mom and says that she sold it for money, and they want her to play. They want her to play for them, and that's kind of the mom's way of wanting to connect with her. And you see that her way of communicating is she's alone and she wants to kind of do it on her own. And then throughout the film, you see her open up and ultimately play for other people. I don't want to give away anything, but it's kind of a nice parallel to her emotional growth throughout the film, I think.